Hello folks, Ferengi on board here with a video. I have returned more, well, in a better mood, let's say. I've not been in a very good mood for quite a while. And this time I came with a video idea about hatred. Why do people hate me, and not me specifically, but you in general? And, well, usually people hate other people because, well, if people don't do things in life, they end up in a very, very vicious cycle. So the point is that due to societal programming and most likely because of parents' bad programming, who in turn they have been programmed badly by their own parents, who in turn they have been taught badly by their own parents, and society nowadays is very, very sick because hundreds and hundreds of generations since the medieval times and much and far before this, so many generations actually did nothing else but teach their children a lot of hatred and all the things they couldn't accomplish in their own life. They just, you know, sent them to their children, and so on and so forth. And children and the next generation and the next generations became more and more aggressive and more filled with hatred. And now, with the rise in consciousness that the planet is seeing at a very fast and even faster and faster pace, one thing I can say for sure is that all this hatred is going to be dissipated. All this hatred is going to be reduced. It's going to be, let's say, terminated and erased in time from our consciousness. How this will happen? It's very simple. People nowadays are born because, well, one of their purposes is to make sure that uh, negative emotions will be cleansed from the consciousness that we all live in. And, you know, the consciousness of us as individuals and from our own pasts, one or more previous lives, depending on how many we actually had, and also from the collective consciousness of our planet and from the collective consciousness of our race as humans. All animals have their own sins, and we are not exempt from that. Now, it happens that because of bad programming, people end up with a stupid belief, and again, belief means accepting something without the necessary proof. For it, in most people's cases, just knowing something is proof enough. So these things actually end up in a very, very bad way for most people, because they don't do any they don't do many things because they don't feel worthy of those things. They feel that they do not deserve those things, and because of bad self-esteem, many people will just kick the opportunities life presents them with, and simply they will fail again and again and again. Schooling systems teach us that when we fail, it's like game over, and many people actually break when they fail, and this is more and more frequent in the newer generations because the younger generations are much more different than their parents were. The newer generation are much more emotional, and with so much emotional input, they will always find it hard because there's no one to teach them how to use their emotions not against them but to actually help themselves and to survive this world that's going crazier and crazier. One of my actual quotes says that in this society of mad people, it matters very little who you are. There was also a quote that said, well, it's better to have a bullet ready when you don't know what comes next. So, but let's not get into dark things, okay? Like, I can speak about that, but I don't prefer this channel to be about that anyways. So, people will end up not doing a lot of things, and you know, when people are on the deathbed, they will usually regret the things they haven't done. And they won't regret the things they've done. I mean, even if they regret the things they have done, it was still a conscious choice. Be it that you don't do something, or be it that you do something, it's still a choice. If you don't do something, it's still a choice to not do something. And these actually spawn regrets in time, and people will use drugs for that. And I'm not calling drugs just substance abuse. I'm talking about any possible idea that can be used as drugs, mainly video games or whatever that people end up using in order to, distract them from their own problems. And it is an idea of the successful people that distractions are the only luxury of poor people because of their low self-esteem and their mentality, which is filled with bad programming. Now, to move it on, the point is that all this will cause more and more inner hatred, and that will cause more and more parasitic entities to come in, and they will hold control sooner or later of that person because of the accumulating hatred. And that hatred, well, that hatred will turn slowly into aggression. It will turn slowly into narcissistic traits, and such people usually end up loving when other people fail. And unfortunately, most people are not knowledgeable that their family may actually revel in their distress. Ever since you are young, you are told, especially by your family, that in order to become successful in life, you have to be like them. You have to get a job, you have to go to school first and get a diploma, then get a job, and look at your parents. Do they look that happy and successful? I mean, surely they don't, in 99% of the cases. And so the point is that they teach you badly, and in most cases they actually are conscious of that because they chose to be like that, and they also want you to be like that because if you become successful or you do things other than them, there are two things that will happen. First of all, you become more authentic to yourself and you will become more successful, which they failed at. Due to programming, yes, I won't blame them and I don't show them any grudge, but through that, they will start fearing that they will lose you. And they, of course, don't want to lose you, and also they wouldn't mind in most cases to actually see you suffer and, have the same fate at least as them. And on the other way, they wouldn't like you to win because that means that you will become successful, which they have failed at, and consciously, so that will remind them of the failure that they are. That's one of the reasons, actually the main reason why so many people will start hating you. It is one of the great lessons in life, and it is one of the ways that the universe will tell you that, hey, you're doing good. The more people hate you, and not for doing bad things, but the more authentic you are, the more people will hate you. And that is a good thing, because if you end up not hated by other people in life, then you haven't done anything. The moment you start becoming authentic, people will just pop up and will try to pull you down. They will try to lower you to their level of pain and hatred, and they will actually hate you. They will actually even curse you. They will actually use emotions against you. They will probably even threaten you and all sorts of things just because they won't agree with you becoming a failure, other than a failure that they are. And more than this, some very advanced narcissistic traits actually make people feel entitled that everyone else is their slave, and more so than that, they are entitled to seeing the whole world break and cry and die in pains and suffer in pains greater than theirs. So stay away from such people because they will never help you become a greater version of yourself. So, shortly said, I don't want to extend this video too much, shortly said, the more authentic you become, the more will people hate you. And that is a way of actually figuring out people. This is one of the greatest ways to find out whom among your friends is actually a true friend. Just because you have a few things in common, that doesn't make anyone your friend, right? Just because you say play the same game, or you like the same thing, or you read the same genre of books or the same genre of mangas, that doesn't make them your friend. A friend is someone who supports you. A friend is someone who accepts you with all your positives and especially your negatives. A friend is someone who will agree to things and will actually stay by your side, even if at times they may not, because everyone has their own life, but friends are those who support you. Even if they can't actually physically help you, at least they will support you. Friends are those who will say, well, I really don't know how to fix this thing, or I do have this problem in life, right? And most people will say, nah, don't try it, it's not for you, it's probably not for you, like, you're not worth it, right? And all sorts of things that will pull you down. I mean, these are probably some of the cuddlier examples compared to some of the worst examples that could actually come. While a friend, even if they can't actually come up with an idea, probably you're doing a field that they're not knowledgeable of that, at least they will support you. Like, what I can say to someone is that, well, nah, don't worry about that. You'll figure out a way. It's probably one of the universe's ways of telling you to keep it down. Okay, like, you've done enough in that field. An idea will come on that. An idea will come on that. Always trust the universe because it always delivers. So, never worry about that. An idea will come. I know I've tested it on my video game for 10 months and I've had periods in which I couldn't solve a thing, and suddenly I would find the right plugin, I would find a certain inspirational idea, or on most times I usually found out an idea myself and I didn't need a plugin. But at times with RPG Maker you actually need plugins because it has numerous limitations. But now that I almost have 1300 hours, I do find ways to fix things here and there, although the intricacy beyond my mechanics usually makes it somewhat tricky at times to solve most, or actually some of the problems, not most. Now, with hatred, the problem is that the more you keep it underneath the rug, that thing actually becomes worse and worse, and the worse it becomes, the more it actually eats at you, and the more that happens, well, the more dangerous you become, because in time hatred leads to shame, and shame leads to guilt, and it can also lead to rage and fury. And when these things happen, usually, hands start shaking, the body starts shaking, and hideous thoughts start popping up, because there are numerous entities who want to experience whatever they would like, and I'm sure there are a lot of entities who would revel in having somebody as their slave, or having some human under their control and experience what it takes to, I don't know, do something hideous, like, for example, kill someone or torture someone. Because why not? Those entities are already miserable, but they only need a human weak enough and broken enough to actually do that. So what can I say? Have a nice day and see you on the other video.